Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also record my thanks to the State of the Nation address by the President. And Madam Speaker, because I know we have limited time, I'll pick a few issues. That we are now on our second day, yes, 5 minutes, that we are on our second day of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Allow me to start with that, Madam Speaker. And I want to laud the President because he pronounced himself clearly, even his meeting with women leaders, Madam Speaker, and committing even resources to fight this menace, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it cannot be normal that in the last 3 months, we have about 97 women who have been killed, mostly by intimate partners, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that means every month we have lost 30 women to gender-based violence, Madam Speaker. And even today, we have woken up to a woman being raped and stabbed in Murang'a. We have woken up yesterday to another one in Nakuru, another, every in Laikipia. It cannot be normal, Madam Speaker. And I think the disconnect we are having right now is that the President pronounces himself, but the people supposed to take action are sleeping on the job. Madam Speaker, we have not had a statement from the Interior Ministry, even today, condemning these incidences, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, last year, a girl in my constituency, Jasmine Joki, from Kasambara village in Barok, was raped and killed brutally. A 12-year-old was raped and killed in broad daylight, Madam Speaker, as she left school. Madam Speaker, that was September 12th, 2023. Suspects were arrested, DNA was harvested. It took 6 months to actually hear of that DNA again. Why? It was taken to Kisumu because we don't have any testing center in Nakuru. We don't have a testing center in Eldoret. We don't have testing centers in so many of these counties, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Interior will boast and say, we have spent billions in buying equipment to modernize our fighting equipment, Madam Speaker. Why is it so hard to spare small shillings to buy reagents that we wait for from South Africa to test for DNA to be able to tell whether someone has committed a rape or a defilement, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, why? Because it is not very appealing, because it doesn't have money. There is not much money people can eat from that, Madam Speaker, and it does not have the interest of the nation. Madam Speaker, we have to change this, and we have to get to a point where every county can be able to process DNA samples to enable, to ensure that we have these culprits behind doors, behind bars, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that case really pained me, because when you get a culprit who gets arrested, then tomorrow they are out on bail of 200, of 50,000, of 100,000, they go back to the families and taunt them. They actually tell them, you can do nothing to me, Madam Speaker. And I know people have said women should walk away, but how many are able to do that? Because others follow them, even when they try to walk away from relationships, Madam Speaker. And I say that as someone who has walked away from one which was violent, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, they will follow you, they will tap your phone, they will actually call your friends, they will threaten you. And if you don't have the financial independence, you are not able to walk away. So I would actually say that we are not doing well. We must loop in the judiciary. This issue of just giving them bail and they walk is another problem, Madam Speaker. You go to the police, gender desk are mere desks. Actually, I think they even moved the desks from the police, Madam Speaker, because the idea was to give women a safe place to actually report these issues when they happen. And it is not happening. The judiciary must have a fast lane to actually be able to curb the issue of gender-based violence. And that also applies to boys and men, Madam Speaker, that we also have safe spaces where they can report and talk about it, because the stigma is quite huge and it is associated by reporting any abuse meted on men or boys. Madam Speaker, that for me stood out. The other issue, Madam Speaker, is of course the economic growth. I hope that we can be able to translate these to the pockets of Kenyans so that they can feel what the President is talking about and not just percentages. That way we'll be able to feel, and we'll not need to say, even on the newspapers, we'll be able to feel and see members doing well and the public thriving, Madam Speaker. I thank you for that opportunity.
The Honorable John Mutunga, member for Tigania.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to make a few comments on the presidential address. Honorable Speaker, This address comes subject to Article 132(1)(c), which basically articulates measures towards realization of national values, principles of governance in this country. Honorable Speaker, these are the values that are clearly outlined in Article 10 of the Constitution. And we can put them into 4 key clusters, one being the loyalty to the Republic, the second on promotion and protection of the rights of individuals, the third one as integrity, and the fourth one as development. Honorable Speaker, I would like to pick a few values and ask certain questions that Kenyans, on the extent to which Kenyans attest to these values. Patriotism, Honorable Speaker, in my understanding, is commitment to the nation's progress and sovereignty. The extent to which we commit ourselves is wanting, Honorable Speaker. Upholding sovereignty is important so that we may balance the freedoms and also the freedoms with public policy. Honorable Speaker, to what extent do individuals within this particular country aligned to patriotism? How much progress have we made as a country? When a Kenyan is given an opportunity to express themselves, to what extent do we as Kenyans really talk about this country as our home and a place that we would like to live in? When you look at the media, to what extent is the media patriotic? Because most of the time you realize that they will criticize and not necessarily critique. Honorable Speaker, the other issue is that the report itself cautions extensively on the role of the rule of law and constitutionalism. Honorable Speaker, the national unity issue, to my understanding, is promoting cohesion and inclusivity. When we group ourselves along ethnic lines, are we actually expressing nationalism? Is that national unity? The reality is that to that large extent, Kenya is segmented into ethnic communities. How do we interpret national unity when we allow vernacular radios to take prominence in this particular country? And when any of us is aggrieved, you turn to the vernacular radio to try and express yourself. Honorable Speaker, that's an issue we need to deal with as a country. We need to promote national unity, and the report addresses this particular issue at large. Sharing and the devolution of powers with respect to devolution itself. Equitable resource distribution has to do with reaching the people. How much has devolution been able to do this? Out of the 47 counties as devolved unit, and the resources being sent to these devolved units, Honorable Speaker, we need to see a lot more of development so that we can say Kenya has really done the right thing in the terms of terms of addressing the issues of devolution. Honorable Speaker, when you look at the human dignity, the respect and the protection of every individual's rights and obligations, in this particular respect, Honorable Speaker, the immediate previous speaker has, honorable member, has attested to the gender-based violence and especially femicide, which the report covers extensively. Everyone deserves the right, not just the right to live in this country, right to engage without any form of intimidation, without any form of discrimination. Honorable Speaker, there should be no, we should be, as Kenyans, there should be no one who is superior before the other as a country, as a people living together. We should always respect one another so that we can also be respected outside this country. When you look at the issues of equity, which has to do with the fair distribution of resources, particularly to the marginalized groups, this country has made a lot of effort. And the report covers quite extensively on the effort that the government has done in consideration of the effort of ensuring that everyone is taken care of. Projects like the affordable housing program, which is distributed across the country, it has the constituency focus, which means every constituency is supposed to get their share. The ICT hubs are spread across the country, the NGCDF, the TVET, and others. Universities are now county-based. So it means every county has an opportunity to have its own university. So equity is being exercised, and this is very well articulated in the report. When I was Speaker, social justice, about equal opportunities. In this country, pursuit for social justice has been terribly misinterpreted, and the report is very particular on Article 27, the misinterpretation of Article 27, where picketing is misinterpreted to mean violence, which is not true. Inclusivity, Honorable Speaker, the provisions on inclusivity have also been articulated within this particular report.
You can finish your sentence.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me conclude by saying that equality has also been looked into very, very carefully in this particular report. We have spread projects across the country, looking at different areas to make sure that every part of this country is developing. We have looked at the employment and labor migration, which has also assisted people across the scope, and the Equalization Fund, which has also looked at the areas that actually were behind others in terms of development. And therefore, this report articulates exactly what's happening in this country and the progress that we're making. Among others, the state of the economy has also been clearly articulated, as well as the state of food and nutrition and the cancellation of the contentious Adani contract. Thank you very much.
Okay. The Honorable